everybody, my name is Gregory Scott and thank you for joining me today. This is the second Q&A video that I'm doing and I'm here to answer your questions. Okay, so the first question I'm going to have a look at is Bernice's question on Patreon. She's one of my supporters on the Patreon page, so thank you very much, Bernice. I really appreciate your support. And Bernice asks, I'm curious about how influenced you are by the deck you are working with. Individual cards, no matter the deck, have base meanings. But do you find that you're influenced by the images, colors, etc. that are depicted on the card depending on the deck? The simple answer to this is yes, I am influenced by the deck that I'm reading, and I deliberately let myself be influenced by the deck that I'm using. My thinking behind that is, Bernice, that I'm using that deck for a particular reason. The law of attraction means that you always choose the right thing at the right time. It comes to you and it's meant to be. So if I'm using, let's say, the Wheel of the Year deck and the Ten of Pentacles is depicted a certain way, with a child in it instead of a grown-up, I will deliberately interpret it with that child in mind because I feel that I'm using the right deck at the right time, and that message and the way it's depicted in that deck wants to come across. So I deliberately let myself be influenced by the specific deck I'm using. Sometimes I'll look at the general tarot meaning overall if I feel it gives extra insight that's appropriate, but I will deliberately try and read that card that's in front of me at that very time. And often if it's completely different to the usual tarot, I will go with the completely different meaning for that day, because I think that'll enrich the actual message. Okay, the next question is it because of Saturn energy that Capricorns are ambitious, or being an earth sign? Right, I think the thing behind this is that Capricorns are ruled by Saturn, and the question is, are they ambitious because of Saturn or because they're earth signs? I think Saturn is about limitations and structure, and that will make Capricorns ambitious because they will want to create that structure for themselves. Earth is about also being practical and solid, but it's not so driven. So I think it is the Saturn energy that makes Capricorns ambitious, because they want things ordered and in place, and they will then apply themselves to make things ordered and in place. The second question here is, who, according to astrology, is a better leader? Aries, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, or Capricorn? Now, better leader, you know, different leaders have different styles. Aries is going to be very active, forward-moving, progressive, and goal-directed. Leo will be warm, but will often include themselves very much in the thing that's trying to be achieved. Libra is a little bit undecided to be the ideal leader. Scorpio is good but can be a little bit intense. Capricorn is a little bit work-oriented but dry. I would say out of those, Aries, Leo and Capricorn are the best. And they all have a different style, really, of leadership. So there's no one best leader. Those three are the best ones, I feel. Okay, great. Emily on Twitter asks, hi, how important are the planet houses? I have a friend who has lots of planets in the 4th house. Thanks. Houses are really important. The way it works is that I look at a chart. The planets is what energy? The sign, so Aquarius, Pisces, is how that energy is expressed, and the house is what area of life that energy is expressed in. So let's say the sun is in Leo in the 7th house. The sun is energy and drive. Leo is warmth and power, and the 7th house is relationships. So the drive will be to be warm and affectionate in a relationship. It's really important. It gives the context of what area of life this energy is going to be expressed in. Right, let's go to Facebook. Let's look at some of your questions here. Right, the first question is from Good Luck King Leon. Thank you for asking your question, Good Luck. How did you draw tarot cards so many days in advance and still be accurate? Right, that's a good question. The tarot cards pick up on the energy, and that energy is kind of stored in the collective consciousness. It doesn't matter if I do that reading the day before or 20 years before, it's not affected by time and space. The tarot cards transcend time and space, and that's why it doesn't matter when I do the readings in advance, they'll be accurate regardless. Because the truth, spirituality, and the truth of who we are, it's not bound by time or space. Time is a human construct. So I'm tapping into something deeper than that. So time is here, and it goes deeper down to the next level of that spiritual truth. And it doesn't matter when you access it. I hope that answers your question. Meg O'Neill. Greg, how did you get into tarot? What started you? I actually talk about this in depth in an interview that I did, and you can find the file on my website, gregoryscott.com. And there's 2 kind of interviews on there, and you can download those free of charge. It's an MP3. And I got into tarot because I found a pack of tarot cards at my grandmother's house when I went to visit. I think when I was 10, yeah. And I looked at them and I was immediately fascinated by them, and I just kind of started looking into them then and started learning the meanings. I started to do readings for myself. Diane. I understand there are many card readers out there, and I understand whichever one I'm drawn to will be mine. Am I supposed to resist the urge to check out several readings at the same time? They almost always contradict each other. Or should I just get my own deck and read for myself? Blue skies. Smiley face. Okay. I don't think you need to resist the urge to check out readings at the same time. I mean, obviously you don't want to keep watching readings until you hear what you want to hear. I think I don't think it needs to be exclusive, but I certainly think that when the message feels right, you'll know. So if you look at different readings and one says today is going to be about self-discipline, the other one says it's going to be a good day with lots of friendships, and the other one says you're going to win the lottery, and obviously you want to hear the lottery message, but it doesn't quite feel right, then go with your gut feeling. It's a two-way process, and if it feels like the message connects and seems kind of to resonate with you, then that's the one you should go with. But I don't think you need to be exclusive to one reader. Should you just get your own deck and read for yourself? Absolutely you can. Often reading for yourself though is a bit tricky because your ego jumps in and kind of gives you the messages again you want to hear. So I don't read for myself very much because I tend to look at what I want the outcome to be rather than being objective about it. So pick a couple of readers and see what resonates with you. Next question is from Heather. And Heather asks, thanks, I've been wondering if there's anything I can do about my Uranus being in the 6th house and square my Sun, Moon and Saturn. This configuration has annihilated all my romantic partnerships, at least that's my latest theory. Now, the 6th house is about transformation and routine. And it may have, I don't think it would have annihilated your romantic partnerships, but it would have kept you in a state of moving from one thing to the next in sort of a constant upheaval. Your 5th house is focused on romance and children, and your 7th house is long-term partnerships and relationships. So I would look at what's going on in those houses, and I would try and maximize that energy and tune into that. Uranus is electric, and it means rebellion and lots of change. So I don't think it would be particularly responsible for annihilating your relationship, breaking them up, but what I think it would be responsible for is to keep you moving and to keep your circumstances changing on an ongoing basis. So have a look at houses 5 and 7 and see what's going on there. And if you want me to look at that specifically, then just get in touch via my email. It's readings@gregoryscott.co.uk. Judy wishes us a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Judy. You too. I hope you had a good one. Milika says, how important are the influences of a relocated chart compared to the natal one? Right, relocated chart, just it is important because the natal one is where you were born, so that was what was happening where you were when you were born. Relocated just means that you're looking at the sky where you actually are. So it is important because it means it's more accurate. If I look at, so let's say you were born in Moscow and you've now moved to New York. If I look at your current chart today with you being in Moscow, then I'm looking at the sky from a completely different angle to what I should be looking at it from, because you're in New York now, you're not in Moscow, so the sky is going to look different. So it is important to relocate the chart. Next question is, Karen, do you read runes or rune cards? Yes or no? What are your thoughts, advice on this? Also another question, do you read runes or rune cards? Yes, no, what are your thoughts, advice on this? I do read runes, I can read runes. I don't use them very often. I think they're a wonderful tool. They have different symbols on them. They're very much like tarot. They have a different flavor to them, but as far as the divination is concerned, they're just as good, and I use them. Yes or no? Do you mean, can you give yes or no answers with the runes? You can, like you can with everything. There are different ways of doing that. With tarot, you can do yes or no. You can either look at whether the card comes up the right way around or reversed. You can look at the actual meanings of the cards, and I give a lot of information about how to do that specifically in my course, which is on my website, gregoryscott.com. Click on the shop section and the Intuitive Tarot Expert course is there, and in that course I teach you how to give yes and no answers. But you can do that with tarot cards, and you can do that with runes as well. There's different techniques. Okay, Karen asked another question. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I am, thank you. I know we've talked before on tarot, and I am here in the near future going to get what you advised me of. But I do have an off-the-wall question. Can tarot be used for animals, dogs, cats, etc.? I would love to acquire the ability to be an animal communicator as well as people, to be able to help those in need who cannot physically speak their issues. Would there also be a specific deck for this? How could I get started doing this? Tarot works for anything. So absolutely you can use any tarot deck to work with animals, dogs, cats, etc. If you want a specific deck, I don't know of any specific decks that are focused on animals. I mean, there is the Animal Tarot, but that only has depictions of animals. It doesn't cater specifically to the needs of animals. But I'm sure there is one. I mean, I'm sure if you look at that and say, you know, tarot designed for animals, you'll get a version, because there's so many tarot decks out there. But I really don't think you need a specific deck. The Morgan Greer deck feels right if you did a reading for an animal. And what I would do is I would draw one card. I would keep it very simple and see what the energy is, really, because obviously the way they think and the energy is much more simplified than human beings. Yeah, so yes, you can use the tarot for animals, and I'm sure there is a specific deck. Please Google that and let me know. I don't have one specifically for animals, but that doesn't mean there isn't one in existence. Okay, how can you get started doing this? Get started by drawing one simple card and keeping it very simple and just checking the energy and seeing if that, and then double check with the pet that you've got and see whether that's makes sense. So for instance, if you've got a dog and your dog is bouncing up and down wanting you to take him for a W-A-L-K, I've learned to not even say that word because my dog has ears that prick up with that word. Then draw a card quickly and see what it says. If it says movement and energy, it's like, okay, that's what we're getting for kind of the energy. And then just kind of test that out. But keep it very simple. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying animals are simple or, you know, I love my dog so much. And I think they have a soul just as rich as ours. But what I'm saying is if you to draw one card that's simple, especially when you're starting out, it'll clarify the energy, the message. and it'll help you tune in quite easily. Okay, Felicia. My question isn't about tarot, so I hope you can answer. I wanted to know how or what you do to keep focused on positive thoughts or change a negative thought or pattern into positive ones. Are there any particular prayers you say or meditations you do when these thoughts, situations, or people come into your life? Thank you so much. Yes, I meditate. I do a type of mantra meditation that I do every day. And that helps me to kind of declutter my mind and to let go of things. And in terms of the prayer I say, I love to say the Lord's Prayer. I think that covers all the angles. I love that prayer. But I also deliberately hand things over to God or the universe, and I say, this is really bothering me. This negative thought is here. I can't seem to let go of it or shift it. I give it to you and I hand it over for you to work with because I can't do it myself, and I ask for help that way. So I don't know if that's a specific one, but the Lord's Prayer certainly is. Okay, Mary Beth. Don't know if you can address this one easily. From one professional to another. Hello. How would you express the solace and divinity that you evidently experience through the tarot to others to help demystify this craft for the collective consciousness, to help remove its stigma as the work of the devil? I could write a book on this, but I'd love to hear how you voice this. Okay, first of all, yes. The way the tarot works is it's a tool that opens up your intuition, and you access that. And whatever you want to call it, whether you call it the intuition, the collective unconscious, the God spirit, the mind of God, the unmanifest, whatever you want to call it, it's a tool that gets me to that place where I connect with the divine, where I'm able to bring answers through and hopefully help people with them and guide them. So that's all it is. It's a tool to get me to that holy place where I can get answers from. In terms of removing the stigma of it being the work of the devil, I get that once in a while. Not as much as I thought I would, actually, because I grew up in South Africa, which is a very still kind of fundamental Christian culture, and there it was very big in terms of these cards being, evil and whatever. And I don't think it's my job to remove the stigma of it. I think everyone has to make that choice. And I think these days there's enough information out there to educate yourself on them and to make your own decision. I mean, I was brought up in an environment, my family wasn't fundamentalist Christian, but South Africa certainly was. And I chose to look at these cards and educate myself about them and think, are they evil or not? And I've decided that they aren't, that they're a tool to open my intuition, and that's as far as it goes for me. So, and I don't feel it's my job to educate people about them. It's my job to use them and to help people who want to use them for themselves find a way to access them. That's my job. So, yeah, I'm not an activist in terms of removing the stigma. Michael, how about something on the natal moon sign and how to read that horoscope as it relates to one's sun sign and rising sign? I've done a video on that, what the moon sign means. The video is called Astrology, rising versus sun versus moon signs, and it shows you the difference between each one and what they mean. Luca. Hi Greg, I enjoy your daily tarot readings, thank you very much, and monthly astrology videos. My question is regarding the cusp born. My birthday is October 23, and according to many astrological charts, my sun sign is Libra. However, I often see myself acting and reacting like a Scorpio. Can I possibly be a little bit of both? Right, cusps. There aren't any cusps in terms of the chart. If you enter the specific time and the date and the place, you will get a definite answer. It's either one thing or another. But obviously, the day before, if it just leaves one sign and moves into another, these things are kind of fluid. So you will still have a residue of that old energy, and you may not be fully connected with the new energy just yet. So absolutely, you can be a little bit of both. And anything that's at 0 degrees or at 30 degrees, I look at the next house and the next sign because they do start to influence each other. So absolutely, what you're doing there is you're very in tune and in touch with the energies, and you're absolutely right. What you're picking up is right. You will be a little bit of both. Okay, and final question, Akiko. Hi Greg, thank you for your videos. I'm learning a lot about astrology and tarot. Good. It would be great if you can share your take on major aspects in natal charts, such as square, conjunction, etc. I'm especially interested in T-square because I have a few in my natal chart. Thank you. Okay, great. What Akiko means there is in the astrology chart there's a circle and the planets are dotted around there, and in the middle there are lines that connect the planets to each other, and some of them are squares which are certain degrees apart, and then there's trines certain degrees apart, and they all have a different flavor to them, so they make the planets interact differently. So for instance, squares are they create friction between two planets and motivation. Trines create an easy flow. Sextiles create an easy flow as well. You've got quincunxes, all of those things. That mainly friction and motivate, or mainly ease and combine to blend together nicely. Now I want to look at the major aspects that you mentioned, T-square, and I want to mention the grand, not the grand cross, the grand trine. Yeah, grand trine and T-square. The T-square is an opposition, so two planets that are exactly apart, 180, and then two squares on the side, so it's like a triangle, okay? And a T-square is a really wonderful kind of placement because it creates a real area of movement, tension, friction, motivation, and real energy. So two planets are squared. That's the problem. That's the things that are in conflict. Often the thing at the tip of the triangle is the solution, and what I do is I look across from that triangle on the other side of the chart as well for the solution. So there's 2 points of release. So let's say Mercury opposes Mars in house 10 and 4. There'll be kind of a conflict between the way you communicate in the home and the way you kind of assert yourself at work. If the trine is, not the trine, if the tip of the triangle is the sun, let's say in, I don't know, house, what would it be, 8? Probably 7 or 8, yeah, around there, then it would mean that the way to kind of ease that tension is to focus on the relationships you have with people in both of those areas. Okay, so it always presents a problem with the solution. And then if you look across the other side, it could be that Pluto is in the self, area of self, first house, and that would mean, for instance, that be flexible about the way you see things. For instance, okay, I'm just kind of making this up on the top of my head. So it's a really powerful energy that creates a lot of activity. So they're very, very important to look at. If you have a few in your natal chart, you're going to be a very active person, someone who's got complicated kind of motivations but a way out and a way to express those, and you'll be someone who's really able to achieve great things. Grand trines in charts are giant triangles, and they're 3 trines that lock together to make a big triangle, and they're areas of real talent, and they're always in an element. They're either in fire, water, earth, air, and it indicates a great talent in that area. So often grand trines in water will indicate someone who's highly intuitive, who gets messages, who's emotionally connected. In earth will often indicate someone who's very practical, and so on. Okay, and that's it for the questions. So thank you for joining me in this Q&A. I will continue to do these once a month. So I'll put a prompt on Facebook for more questions at the end of December. I hope you have a wonderful month. If you want to ask questions in the meantime, you can either on Facebook or Twitter. Just put the hashtag talktogregory at the end of it or somewhere in there, and then I can find it and pick it up. If you would like a private reading with me, please visit my website. It's gregoryscott.com, and click on the readings tab for the type of readings that I offer. If you want to join us here on Facebook, then where most of these questions have come from, or Patreon, then find me on Gregory Scott 444. On Patreon, I think it's just Gregory Scott. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I will speak to you soon.